Talentless Nana is set in the future when monsters that threaten humanity appear and wreak havoc. So to fight against these monsters, called enemy of humanity, children who have supernatural powers or are talented are gathered in a special school on a deserted island, where they are educated and trained to prepare them for the upcoming battle. All the needs of the children have been provided for on the island until they graduate, although, in return, they are prohibited from communicating with the outside world. At the beginning of this anime, we are introduced to one of the students at the school, Nakajima Nanao, a boy who is often bullied by his classmates because he is considered to have no talent, unlike his classmates. For example, one of the boys who bullied him the most, Mugao, has a talent for pyrokinesis. And yes, even when the anime started, Mugao was seen bullying Nakajima in their class. But the bullying was interrupted when their teacher entered the classroom with two new students. They are the mysterious Onodera Kyoya and the cheerful Hiragi Nana. While Kyoya refuses to mention his abilities when the students question him, Nana is willing to reveal her talents even before she is asked. And her talent in question is reading other people's minds. No doubt, the students were shocked when they heard about the ability she claimed to have. After all, people will feel uncomfortable if their thoughts are known to others. Regardless, Nana gets a seat next to Nakajima, and thanks to her mind-reading ability, she can tell right away that he is often bullied by the students in class. Her suspicions were justified by Mugao, who called him unfit to fight the enemy of humanity because he was talentless. But surprisingly, Nana chooses to defend Nakajima from Mugao's bullying. She tries to read Mugao's mind and afterwards says that he is bullying Nakajima just because he wants to look cool in front of her and ask her out. Well, Nana refuses to be asked out by bullies like the bald Mugao. Obviously, her refusal embarrassed Mugao, especially since their classmates were now laughing at him. When class finally started, the homeroom teacher asked the students to volunteer as the class president. Hearing that, Mugao immediately volunteered because he felt he was the strongest among the students. Besides him, there was Seiya, the student with the talent for controlling ice. Just when the students thought there were only two candidates, Nana suddenly raised her hand and suggested they vote for Nakajima. Her proposal was, of course, not well received by the other two candidates, who felt themselves far more worthy of being selected than the talentless Nakajima. As if fed up with the endless debate, Kyoya then suggested that the three candidates have a butt fight to determine who is the most worthy of being class president. Seiya and Mugao thought it was a good idea, and they agreed to have a duel tomorrow. Nakajima himself was far from enthusiastic about the duel. He couldn't understand what Nana saw when she proposed to him as class president. And he's even more confused when Nana follows him after school and asks him to take her on a tour of the island. But because Nakajima was kind, he couldn't refuse her request. So he took her on a tour of the campus and the island, including the cafeteria, where later they ate together and talked. Nakajima is still curious about her mind-reading ability, and Nana is willing to explain. Turns out, different from most people's assumptions, her ability has a downside. Whenever she was in a public place, like a train, for example, she always felt dizzy because she could hear all the thoughts of the people there. And because of her talent too, she ended up never having friends. People are too afraid of her to be her friend. After filling their bellies, Nana asks Nakajima to take her to a place where she can see the sea. So Nakajima takes her to a cliff, where no one is near them. It turns out that Nana wants to be in a quiet place because she wants to ask Nakajima about his abilities. She had been suspicious of him from the start because there was no way he would be in this academy if he wasn't talented. Her guess is true, Nakajima does have talent. He deliberately hid it because he didn't want their enemy to know about it. After all, humanity's enemies have intelligence too. Moreover, he heard rumors that the enemy of humanity had infiltrated the island. As soon as he said that, Nana suddenly fell down the cliff as if a strong wind had pushed her. But Nakajima luckily managed to grab her hand in time and drag her back up the cliff. They both wondered why suddenly there was a strong wind that pushed her. It was as if the wind wanted her dead. Meanwhile, in the teacher's room at school, Kyoya was seen checking the students' data and their respective talents. After a while, the homeroom teacher suddenly entered the room, and he naturally asked what Kyoya was doing there. But Kyoya only replied that he wanted to find information about the students. The next day, a duel to determine the class leader was held. But only Maguo and Seiya participated, while Nakajima chose to withdraw as a candidate because he didn't want to show his talent in front of his classmates. But unfortunately, he ended up having to show his talent. It was because Maguo was unwilling to accept his defeat to Seiya. He was angry at losing the duel and then furiously let out a giant fireball that accidentally aimed at the students. At this time, Nakajima is forced to use his abilities to protect the students, and miraculously, the fireball suddenly disappeared after he blocked it. Yes, it turns out that his talent is to cancel or neutralize other talents. For his heroic actions, in the end, all students chose Nakajima as class president. They all agreed that their savior was their greatest and most talented student. Although he had a hard time believing it at first, Nakajima was glad he was trusted to be the student's leader. He feels this would never have happened if it weren't for Nana, and because of that, he invites her to go back to the cliff and thank her. Nana admitted that she was amazed after seeing firsthand how extraordinary Nakajima's strength was, but she was still curious about the extent of Nakajima's power. Was it possible that he could neutralize her mind-reading ability if she touched him? If he could, it would be of great help to her. So to prove her assumption, Nana asks him to hold her hand. And then, after he did, she suddenly threw him off the cliff. Nakajima reflexively grabbed hold of the rope dangling from the cliff, preventing it from falling into the sea. But he was confused, wondering if Nana had just done what he thought. After a moment's recollection, he was sure she had thrown him off a cliff. But why? What is the meaning of this? While Nakajima is hanging from the rope, Nana finally reveals that she is actually talentless. All this time, she had only pretended she could read minds, like when they first met. At that time, Nakajima pretended to read a book without ever turning the page, showing that he was afraid of the people around him. So even without having the ability to read minds, people can know that Nakajima is often bullied. People just need to take a quick look at him, and they can tell immediately. Hearing that explanation, Nakajima couldn't help but think that Nana was the enemy of humanity in disguise. That's why she's trying to kill him now. But Nana denied the accusation. Instead, she says, it is the talented who are the enemy of mankind. She is an ordinary human being sent by the government to eliminate the talented on the island, including Nakajima, who has a high chance of becoming the leader of the enemy of humanity in the future. After she said all that, Nakajima couldn't hold the rope anymore. A moment later, he lost his grip and fell into the sea. With that, Nana managed to get rid of her first target, as confirmed by the text message she received. The message read that Nakajima Nanao, the future leader of the enemies who could potentially kill around 1 million humans, has died. The scene then switches to flashbacks, which show that the enemy of humanity is not a monster as described in history books or the media. The enemies are humans who are endowed with superpowers, or what is commonly called talented people. Then as time went on, more and more children with special powers were born in different parts of the world, causing chaos and destruction everywhere. Ordinary humans or talentless clearly cannot handle this threat, forcing the government to form a special police force whose members have superpowers. But in the end, this special police force turned against their master because they felt superior to ordinary humans. All of this resulted in the outbreak of a long war, which was eventually won by the talentless people. Years after the war, mankind managed to recover gradually. But to avoid a repeat of the dark history, the government sends the talented to a deserted island under the guise of sending them to a special school. At the same time, they send agents assigned to secretly kill the talented. The government had to do it secretly. Otherwise, the talented could turn against them. Back in the present, the students are taking a class on the lake to practice their water fighting skills. These talented students were behaving like normal teenagers. Some whimpered in fear because they couldn't swim, while others boasted of their abilities, like Seiya, who showed off his abilities by freezing the entire lake. Seeing Seiya's abilities, Nana couldn't help but think that she had to get rid of him. His abilities were too dangerous to be left alone. Thus, she decided to learn more about Seiya's talent when they returned to class. But while she was extracting information from him, Maguo got into an argument with a student. But the fight ended quickly after a student who hated fuss stepped in and punched Maguo in the cheek. According to Seiya, the student is Shibusawa, who has a talent for time travel. Thinking that his talent was far more dangerous than Seiya's, Nana then tried to find more information about his abilities by taking Shibusawa together for lunch. Without further ado, she immediately tested his ability by spilling a glass of water on Shibusawa. It turned out that Seiya wasn't lying. Shibusawa has a talent for time travel, as evidenced by how the water that should have spilt is back in the glass. And Shibusawa admits to Nana that he can return to the past, though only to a certain extent. Nana immediately panicked when she heard about his ability. How can she not? With that ability, Shibusawa can find out that she killed Nakajima just by returning in time. To make matters worse, Kyoya suddenly interrupts them and then asks Shibusawa to use his ability to track down Nakajima. Nana certainly doesn't want that to happen, so she tries to change the topic by saying that Nakajima is sick. That's why he didn't come to class today. But Kyoya couldn't believe that was the case. His room in the dormitory happened to be next door to Nakajima, and since last night Nakajima had not returned to his room. So Kyoya deduces that Nakajima has disappeared. Before he disappeared, he knew that Nana was the last person to be with Nakajima. At this moment, Nana knew she had to do something, or people would start to suspect her. Incidentally, she remembered the story of the enemy of humanity infiltrating the island. So she decided to use it to create a rumor that Nakajima was attacked by a monster. To make it look more convincing, she pretended to read Kyoya's mind and acted frightened afterwards, as if she had just discovered that he was an imposter disguised as a human. Her acting was convincing enough to make Shibusawa trust her, especially since Kiyoya suddenly became interested in Nakajima. He had been so indifferent to everything before, though why was he suddenly changing now? Shibusawa thought there must be something he was hiding. But still, Shibusawa wouldn't really be able to find the truth if he didn't search. So he told Nana that he would try to find out the truth of what Kiyoya said by going back in time and checking Nakajima's room last night. A moment later, he returned to Nana's side, and what Kiyoya said was true. Shibusawa discovers that Nakajima did not return to his room last night. But apparently, time traveling drains a lot of energy. Just traveling back in time to yesterday night had already exhausted Shibusawa. For the same reason, he could only go back to yesterday's time. Shibusawa still didn't give up. He said he could still check on Nakajima when he was with Nana on the cliff. But that was precisely what Nana didn't want to hear the most. She tried to stop Shibusawa, reasoning that he was tired and that it was better to continue the search tomorrow. But of course, Shibusawa refused. The longer they delay the search, the more difficult it will be for them to find traces of Nakajima. In the end, Nana couldn't stop Shibusawa from going to yesterday, but luck seems to be on her side. When he returns to the present, Shibusawa tells her that he managed to find Nakajima on the cliff with her, but he could only watch until the moment when Nakajima and Nana held hands. After that, he ran out of energy and had to return to the present. In other words, Shibusawa didn't see how Nana ruthlessly threw Nakajima down the cliff. So, now that Shibusawa had run out of energy, they had to end the search for the day, with Shibusawa apologizing to Nana for suspecting her. But of course Nana couldn't risk letting Shibusawa go back in time tomorrow. She had to get rid of him immediately. So for that, she meets Shibusawa in his room in the middle of the night and tells him that she actually knows what happened to Nakajima. He was attacked by the enemy of humanity as they came home from the cliff yesterday, she said. His body was crushed, and she didn't want to tell anyone else. She doesn't want other students to be traumatized by seeing Nakajima's horrific condition. But since she now knows that Shibusawa can time travel, she asks him to save Nakajima. Shibusawa is really a good person. He immediately follows Nana as she leads him to what she claims is where Nakajima was attacked. And once they get there, he goes back to yesterday, hoping he can save Nakajima and bring him to the present. Unfortunately, Shibusawa didn't realize that Nana had led him into the lake Seiya had frozen this morning. And to make matters worse, Shibusawa can't swim. So when teleports to the past, he will be immersed in the still unfrozen lake. And even if he could return to the present, it would be useless since he would freeze to death in the same lake. So with this, Nana had already managed to kill two talented. The next day, Kiyoya secretly goes to the cliff to investigate Nakajima's disappearance. There wasn't much he could find except the broken rope and Nakajima's watch. Meanwhile, Nana begins to raise her awareness after getting rid of the two talented students in the class, although there is still no student who suspects her to be the culprit in the disappearance of the two students. Instead, Mago and Seiya suspected Kiyoya, who happened not to be in class at the moment. But the person they were talking about arrived not long after, soaking wet and with a leaf stuck to his head. Even though he looks stupid with a leaf on his head, Nana still feels that Kiyoya holds a potential danger. So, Nana follows Kiyoya at lunchtime, hoping she can unravel his mystery a bit. But he only went to the dormitory shed to feed a cat with warm milk. After that, they met in the hallway, and this time Nana couldn't stand the sight of the leaf on Kiyoya's head anymore. She tells him about the leaf, making him touched by her kindness. Then unexpectedly, he asked her to be his friend and even took her to his room. There, Kiyoya reveals to Nana that his real purpose for coming to the island was to investigate his sister, who went missing 5 years ago. Not only that, but he told her that he found Nakajima's watch during his investigation. With this, Nana was even more convinced that Kiyoya should be removed, and she knows how to do it. Previously, when she was in his room, she discovered that he couldn't smell. So the next day, Nana immediately carried out her plan to kill Kiyoya by filling the dormitory shed with gas. Then, after all the preparations were done, she just waited for him to use the stove there when he was going to heat up the cat's milk. He certainly wouldn't be able to smell the leaking gas. Her plan went smoothly. The stove exploded when Kiyoya lit it, engulfing the shed in flames. And this is when Nana starts acting again as a good student. She ran towards the shed while pretending to be worried about Kiyoya. But she doesn't know that his talent is immortality, which means Kiyoya can't die no matter how she tries to kill him. Kiyoya became suspicious of Nana because she looked shocked to see him still alive. Isn't her ability to read minds? Then why doesn't she know that his talent is immortality? But still, his suspicions weren't enough. Kiyoya still had no proof that Nana was the one who wanted to kill him, nor did he have any proof that she was the one responsible for the disappearance of Nakajima and Shibusawa. The next day in class, Kiyoya discusses the explosion and fire in the shed with the students. But instead of directly naming Nana as the culprit, he told the students that it was the enemy of humanity who tried to kill him yesterday. but the students don't believe that the enemy is on the island. A moment later, the girls in the class suddenly became excited. It turns out that the cause is that Michiru, one of the girls in the class, gets a love letter from an anonymous person, asking her to meet him after school. Michiru herself has a talent for healing wounds, so even though she was rejoicing over the love letter, she immediately tried to heal Nana after seeing her injured leg. The method is by licking her feet. Even so, her lifespan would be reduced every time she used her talent. What a cruel irony. And what's even sadder is that the letter sender never comes when Michiru waits for him after school. Instead of the sender, it was Nana who appeared. She says that the guy Michiru was waiting for doesn't exist because the love letter was just a prank designed by her classmates, Karara and Kaori. Michiru cried sadly when she discovered that the two girls she had considered friends for so long had humiliated her with stupid jokes. But on the other hand, she was happy that Nana had told her about the letter, and she thanked her for it. Well, Nana might have found her next target to kill, but now she had to be more careful because, since the explosion incident, Kiyoya had suspected her. He even watched her while she was talking to Michiru. Later that night, in her room, Nana thinks about how she should kill Michiru. The girl has healing abilities, so if Nana injures her body, she can heal the wound easily. The only way possible is to stab her in the back. That way, she wouldn't be able to lick her wound. But when Nana came out of her room to go to Michiru's room, to her surprise, she found Kiyoya standing guard at her door. She asked what he was doing in the girls' dormitory. Still, he had already prepared his answer. He was afraid of her being attacked by the enemy, and that's why he decided to guard her. Thinking that she couldn't go with Kiyoya to stay up all night, Nana turned on the music loudly and slipped out through the window. That, however, was still not enough to fool Kiyoya, who could already guess that she was deliberately setting the music so she could run away from him. And he was sure that she would go to Michiru's room. Sure enough, Kiyoya saw Nana running towards the girl's room, so he followed her. But he was surprised when he opened the door to Michiru's room. He saw Nana lying with a severe stab wound while Michiru, beside her, tried to heal her wound by licking it. As soon as she found out that Kiyoya had followed her, Nana told him that she heard the voices of the enemy of humanity moving towards Michiru's room. She was worried they would kill her, so she rushed out of her window to save Michiru. The enemy itself is like an invisible being, Nana said. They suddenly attacked her and just disappeared. But of course, it was all just a big lie. Nana deliberately stabbed herself so that Kiyoya wouldn't suspect her anymore. Still, Kiyoya couldn't shake off his suspicions of Nana. If what she said was true, why didn't she call him when she heard suspicious voices? And why did the enemy immediately run away after stabbing her? Why didn't they continue their action by killing Kiyoya and Michiru? So Kiyoya confronted Nana the following day in class and asked her all the questions on his mind. But then again, he didn't have solid evidence that she was lying, and there was no way she would just admit it. Moreover, the students had heard about what happened last night, and they all believed and sympathized with her. And Nana is well aware that this is a good opportunity to get them to side with her even more. So she pretended to cry in front of the students while spreading rumors that the enemy of humanity had infiltrated the island, and she was sure the enemy had killed Nakajima. Nana's acting is so convincing that Michiru suggests to all the students that they appoint her as class president. After all, she had saved Michiru's life. There is no better person to be class president than the brave Nana. Needless to say, all the students agreed with Michiru's proposal. Now that she is the class president, Nana immediately uses her authority by ordering Michiru to gather information about the talents of all the students in the class. The innocent Michiru obeys her orders without questioning the slightest bit. Only Kiyoya is still questioning her innocence, even though he says in front of her that he doesn't suspect her anymore. But his behavior was the opposite of what he said. Like a detective, he still asks many questions, such as why the wound on Nana's back looks like it was caused by a sharp object like a knife or an ice pick. If Nana was attacked by a monster, there was no way they would use a sharp object like that to stab her. Though resentful of his behavior, Nana had to admit Kiyoya's sharp intuition and deduction. So she makes a new weapon so that the next murder looks more like it was done magically. For that, she chose to make poison needles. As Nana heads to the dorms later that night, she is approached by Tsunakichi, a student who claims he can see the future. And best of all, he can print photos of his future visions. But the last photo he printed bothered him, so he showed it to Nana. It's true. The photo has something to do with her because it shows that she tried to kill him at 10 the next night. Nana pretends to be clueless, claiming that she has no intention of hurting Tsunakichi. So to further convince her that he could see the future, he took her to the cafeteria where he explained his ability. He emphasized that people can't change the future and then showed her another photo of the future, in which the noodles she ordered in the canteen tonight got stuck in her head. Seeing the photo, Nana chooses to switch her order to something other than noodles. But what is in the photo really happened. The waitress's foot slipped, causing the noodles she was carrying to fly onto Nana's head. Now Nana truly believes that Tsunakichi can indeed see the future, and the future in his photos cannot be changed. On the other hand, Tsunakichi urges Nana to reveal why she wants to kill him, even though he is not the enemy of humanity. But again, she denies that she wants to kill him, forcing Tsunakichi to show her another photo, namely the photo when Nana pushed Nakajima off a cliff. So all this time, Tsunakichi had known that Nana killed Nakajima, but he kept quiet because he wanted to blackmail her. And finally, he found that opportunity tonight. He promises not to reveal Nana's secret if she becomes his girlfriend and does whatever he wants. In this situation, there was nothing she could do but obey him. Tsunakichi then took Nana to his room and told her to massage his back. She could actually kill him right now while massaging him, but she chose not to because she wanted to find out first how he could take future photos. Moreover, she didn't want to kill him in the dorms for fear of being caught by the students in the next room. So she waited until he fell asleep while thinking of a way to kill him. And this is when she saw how Tsunakichi was holding his camera while asleep. Thinking it was suspicious, Nana checked the camera and carefully made him press the camera button. Sure enough, future photos came out of that camera, and one of them took her by surprise. She decided to save that one photo before taking Tsunakichi's camera outside the dormitory, intending to check if she could use it to see the future. But apparently, only Tsunakichi can use the camera to photograph the future. When Nana uses it, her shots only produce ordinary photos. So with this, Nana finally understood how Tsunakichi could take photos of the future. It turned out that he saw the future of his dream, and then he printed his dream through the camera. The next day, Tsunakichi realized that Nana had taken his camera last night. He could tell that because he could get 5 future photos per day, nothing less, nothing more. But when he woke up this morning, he found only 4 photos, indicating that someone had secretly snatched one. And no one else can do that but Nana. Sure enough, when he searched Nana's body, he found a photo tucked away in her clothes pocket. And what's even more surprising, the photo shows Nana dead with her body bound by ropes. The photo made Tsunakichi believe that he would not die tonight. Instead of him, it was Nana who would die. Therefore, he asked Nana to meet him at the PE shed at 10 p.m. to prove that he really wasn't going to die. But of course, Tsunakichi would die tonight. The photo he found in Nana's pocket was just a fake photo she prepared using his camera to deceive him. The original photo shows Kiyoya and Michiru finding Tsunakichi's dead body in PE shed. That's why Nana was surprised to see the photo last night. So, after successfully tricking Tsunakichi, Nana came to PE shed earlier than him so she could kill him secretly. But just as he was about to enter the place, the poison needle box she prepared accidentally fell, forcing her to strangle Tsunakichi's neck with a rope, just like the one in the first photo. But it turns out that Tsunakichi came to the shed with preparations. He untied the ropes around his neck and turned the situation around. But at this moment, Nana grabbed the poison needle and stabbed it into his arm, knocking him to the floor. In his dying moment, Tsunakichi is confused, wondering why he ended up dead instead of Nana. And he could only curse his stupidity after knowing the truth from her. In the end, he died after the poison spread throughout his body, just as seen in the photo. Then a while later, Kiyoya and Michiru came to the shed. They were indeed looking for Tsunakichi, and they decided to look in the shed after not finding him in his room. Unfortunately, they arrived too late. On the other hand, Nana had already prepared an excuse for why she could be in the shed at nights like this. She tells Kiyoya and Michiru that Tsunakichi was attacked by the enemy of humanity, and when she arrives at the shed, she finds him already dead. Kiyoya didn't necessarily believe her, especially since he had previously found the fake photo. In addition, the other students had heard from Tsunakichi that he was dating Nana. The photo and the information made Kiyoya suspect that there must be something going on between Tsunakichi and Nana. Once again, Nana had anticipated this would happen. She explains that Tsunakichi took her nude photos and that he used them to force her to be his girlfriend. If she refuses, he threatens to spread the photos to the class. Realizing that her story made sense, Kiyoya couldn't help but let Nana go. He didn't know that Nana then went to Tsunakichi's room to retrieve the rest of the future photos. But much to her surprise, she found that one photo was missing. Worse yet, a photo shows Nana pushing Nakajima off a cliff. The photo turned out to be carried by Tsunakichi under his uniform. And now, the photo was found by Michiru, who was still in the shed. As expected, Michiru decided to show Nana the photo. She felt she should ask her what the photo meant. However, her decision was a good one because it made Nana cancel her intention to kill her. Instead, she explains to Michiru that Tsunakichi is very good at photo editing, and he uses his skills to blackmail other students, just as he did to her. Michiru believes Nana's explanation, and she even obeys when Nana asks her to keep the photo she found a secret. The next day, when the students were attending Tsunakichi's funeral, Kiyoya suddenly came and suggested that they perform an autopsy on Tsunakichi's body. But just as he was about to open the coffin, Tsunakichi got back up as if he was still alive. It turns out that it was the doing of Shinji, a student with a necromancy talent. Seeing Shinji controlling a corpse like that, a girl named Yuka rebuked him. But Shinji reasoned that he had to do that to find out the real cause of Tsunakichi's death. So instead of doing an autopsy, Kyoya could question Tsunakichi directly. But Nana, afraid of her actions being exposed, tried to stop them as best she can. She argues that she can hear the screams of Tsunakichi's soul, which begs them to let him die peacefully. Resurrecting him like this would be tantamount to torturing his soul. And again, the students believed Nana's words. They asked Shinji to stop turning Tsunakichi into a zombie. As a result, Shinji deactivates his necromancy powers, allowing Tsunakichi to return to the coffin. So did Kyoya, who gave up his intention to perform an autopsy on the corpse. The next day, Nana goes to Yuka to get information about Shinji, arguing that she should know all the students as a good class president. However, she couldn't get much information other than that Shinji rarely went to class and was often in his room. Nana felt that there was something Yuka was hiding from her. And not only that, she found the relationship between Yuka and Shinji strange, so she decided to follow Yuka to find out more information about them. Until one night, she finds Yuka secretly meeting with Shinji, and Nana could tell they were dating from how they treated each other in that meeting. It was, however, a good thing for Nana. This way, she could kill both of them at once. But just as she made her plan, Kyoya caught her watching Yuka and Shinji. The next day, when the students were about to take physical education lessons, Nana pretended to be sick and asked Michiru to take her to the infirmary. But as soon as Michiru leaves, she gets up from her bed and goes to the boys' dormitory, where she kills Shinji by sticking a poison needle into his neck. But when she was about to return to the infirmary, she found a cat trapped in a drain, which made her late to return to the infirmary. So when Kyoya and Michiru finished their physical education class and went to the infirmary to check on Nana, they couldn't find her there. But at this point, Nana didn't seem to care anymore if Kyoya suspected her. All she wanted now was for the cat to be saved, and so she asked Kyoya and Yuka to help her save it. Yuka once told her that she had super strength, which could be very useful in a situation like this. However, Yuka refuses to help them, arguing that she has an allergy to cats. In the end, they really don't need to use super strength or whatever. They can get the cat out by baiting it with cat food. Later that night, Nana enters Yuka's room to kill her. But just as she was about to stick the poison needle into her, someone attacked her from behind. It turned out to be Shinji, who should have died this afternoon. Here, it is finally revealed that it is actually Yuka who is the necromancer, while Shinji is the owner of the super strength talent. Shinji died long ago, and now he is just a living corpse controlled by Yuka. She then reveals to Nana how Shinji died. So, before they were sent to the island, Yuka and Shinji were already dating. But one day, when the two of them were watching a movie at the cinema, a fire broke out, eventually killing Shinji. That's when Yuka, who loves Shinji too much, decides to resurrect him as an undead. And thanks to Shinji too, she finally knows that Nana is a cold-blooded killer. She could even guess that Nana killed Nakajima and the others. But when Yuka threatens to report her to the other students, Nana unexpectedly admits that she did kill Nakajima and the others. But even though she kills people, she claims she is not as cruel as Yuka. After all, she let people rest in peace while Yuka played with people's bodies and turned them into zombies. Using that fact, she threatened to report Yuka to the other students. Even so, Nana is willing to keep Yuka's secret and will stop trying to kill her as long as she doesn't reveal her crimes to others. Yuka, of course, refused the offer. She even felt that Nana didn't understand her position. Right now, at this point, Yuka had an advantage over Nana. She has no right to propose a deal to her. Hearing that, Nana didn't want to give up yet. She offers one more thing so that Yuka will accept her offer. That is, she will tell Yuka what Shinji thinks. At this time, Yuka still believed that Nana had the talent to read people's minds, even if that person was dead. So she asked Shinji to let Nana go before telling her to fulfill her promise. Nana does what she asks. She claims that Shinji wants Yuka dead. And after saying that, she ran away outside, leaving Yuka, who finally realized that she had just been tricked. Enraged, Yuka chased Nana, who was running towards the mountains. She even resurrected the corpses in the surrounding area and ordered them to capture her. There were many corpses that Yuka had resurrected, to the point that it made Nana wonder, where did the corpses come from? The government that sent her never mentioned that this island contained many corpses. After thinking for a moment, she found only two possibilities regarding the corpses. Either the previous generation's talented killed each other, or they were killed by the secret agents sent before Nana. In the end, Nana managed to escape from the zombies, and when she was alone, she thought about how Yuka could control the zombies. She tried to remember what she saw in Yuka's room until she finally realized about the things under Yuka's bed. There's no other way, Nana thought. It must be the zombies' belongings that Yuka used to control them. Regardless, the current situation was still not completely safe for Nana to stop running. and so she continued to run away from the zombies until she finally found an abandoned hut. Seeing the small building, she suddenly got an idea of how she could escape from the pursuit of Yuka and her zombies. That's why before she hid in the hut, she fiddled with the door first. Her plan was to hide in there until the sun rose. Based on Shinji's characteristics, who never went to school during the day, Nana guessed that zombies couldn't move when there was sunlight. So when the sun rose, that was her chance to escape. Moments later, Yuka managed to find Nana in the hut, but she didn't want to risk staying there. It was almost dawn, so she decided to go home with Shinji. She only locked the hut door from the outside before she left to prevent Nana from escaping. She plans to return to the hut with her zombie army when it gets dark. But how angry she was when she found Nana had run away when she returned to the hut at night. She immediately ordered her zombie troops to look for Nana in all corners of the forest. However, she was never found even when the sun had risen. So Yuka was forced to return to the dormitory with no results. But it was at this time, as she passed through the dormitory gates carrying Shinji on her back, that Nana finally reappeared. Without further ado, she lunged at Yuka and, pressing her on the back, started looking for something Yuka could use to control Shinji. It didn't take her long to find it, which turned out to be Shinji's school paper. Here it is revealed that to be able to control corpses, Yuka must take objects that have been touched by the corpses during their lives. With the paper now in her hands, Nana threatens Yuka to take Shinji with them to the cliff, where she then explains how she got out of the locked hut. The method is simple, she said. Instead of strengthening the door, she removed the screws on the hinges so she could open the door later. She knew very well that Yuka would not enter the hut or even try to break into the door because the sun was about to rise, and she could already guess that Yuka would lock the door from the outside. Hearing that explanation, Yuka finally realized that she had completely lost to Nana. She apologizes to her, promising not to reveal all the crimes that Nana has committed. Not only that, but she returned Nana's poison needles to her. But sadly, Nana had already decided that she would kill Yuka. She throws Shinji's test paper into the abyss and then forces Yuka to reveal how Shinji actually died. Indeed, Nana found an inconsistency in Yuka's story, and her suspicions turned out to be true. Yuka lied about her story about Shinji. Regarding how Shinji died, he really did die in the cinema. At that time he didn't go there with Yuka, but with another girl. However, Yuka couldn't accept that Shinji went on a date with another girl because after all, she had liked him since they were little. She gets jealous every time she sees him with another girl. And so, she decided to do the unthinkable. She set the cinema on fire, trapping many people inside. Shinji at that time tried to help as many people as possible in the cinema, but in the end, he died from using too much energy. And that was exactly what she had hoped for. She wanted Shinji dead so she could have his body forever. Nana listened to her story in silence. When Yuka finished, Nana stabbed her with a poison needle and then threw her body down the cliff. After disposing of Yuka's corpse, Nana meets Kirara, who is catching a snake. She does have a talent that makes her saliva poisonous, although to maintain it, she must eat snakes regularly. Nana herself knows that Kirara is usually with her best friend, Kaori. So when she saw her alone without Kaori by her side, she became curious and asked her about Kaori. It turns out that Kirara and Kaori's relationship is strained after they get into an argument. To make Nana believe her more, Kirara even shows her their chat and how Kaori cursed her there. But instead of sympathizing, Nana feels this is the right time to kill Kirara. And so she took out her poison needle and stabbed it into Kirara's neck. After that, Nana took Kirara's belongings and cell phone before throwing her corpse next to the undead that Yuka had previously controlled. Next, she sneaks into Kaori's room and poisons her contact lenses. In the school hallways later, Nana runs into Kiyoya, who asks her if she saw Yuka and Shinji. Here unexpectedly, she informs him of Yuka's death. She even took Kiyoya, Michiru, Seiya, and Mago to the cliff, where she revealed all of Yuka's secrets to them. But she still lied about Yuka's cause of death. She claims that Yuka ended her life by jumping off a cliff after she made her aware of her wrongdoing in killing Shinji and controlling his body. Then, with a sad expression on her face, Nana asked Mago to burn all the corpses around, including Shinji and Kirara. At this moment, Kiyoya didn't say much. He let Mago burn the corpses. Finally, when they returned to the dormitory gates, Kiyoya tried to expose Nana's crimes in front of his friends by pointing to the fact that she had no alibi every time the murders happened. But then, they were interrupted by a scream from inside the girls' dormitory. Apparently, a student found Kaori had died in her room. Nana pretended to be surprised to see Kaori's corpse, though she then gave a short smile. She was satisfied with her killing method this time because, this way, she felt she finally had an alibi. She was with Kiyoya and the others when Kaori's death occurred. But Kiyoya felt suspicious about the position of Kaori's hand, which looked as if she wanted to pry out her own eyes. He then tried to investigate her death until he finally found poison in her contact lens case. From that clue, he could deduce that Kaori died after applying the contact to her eyes, and that made Kiyoya and the others immediately suspect Kirara, who can produce poison. Moreover, she hadn't been seen at school since noon. But as one might expect, Kiyoya didn't find Kirara when he checked her room. He only found information that she went looking for snakes in the mountains. Feeling that it would be a waste of time if he followed into the mountain, Kiyoya then decided to reinvestigate Kaori's room. There, he checks her cell phone and finds that Kirara texted Kaori at 3 p.m. when he, Nana, Michiru and the others were on the cliff. But seeing the message, Kiyoya became convinced that Nana was the killer. He then called some of his classmates, intending to explain how she killed Kirara and Kaori to them. So here's Kiyoya's deduction. Nana killed Kirara in the morning when she was looking for snakes in the mountains, which explains why she hasn't returned. But they won't be able to find Kirara's body because her corpse was burned along with Yuka's zombie corpses. That's why Nana asked Mavo to burn the corpses, because she wanted to eliminate Kirara's corpse, which she had put among the zombie corpses. Then, while they were at the cliff, Nana secretly sent a message to Kaori's cell phone using Kirara's cell phone, which she had taken after killing her. She did that to dispel Kiyoya's suspicion of her. So that means now Kirara's phone is with Nana. Kiyoya was very sure of his analysis, and without hesitation, he searched Nana's body, hoping to find Kirara's cell phone on her. But he couldn't find the phone. It was only natural that he couldn't find it because Nana had tied the phone to one of the zombie corpses, which would melt if exposed to the sun for a long time. When that happens, the remains of the flesh on its finger will touch the send button. That way, the message Nana had prepared on Kirara's cell phone would be sent to Kaori's. Now, the other students saw that Kiyoya had accused Nana without evidence. Without having to be asked, they immediately protected her from him. Michiru even told Kiyoya to apologize to Nana, which he did because he had no other choice. In the middle of the night, Nana sat alone in front of the dormitory, thinking about throwing out the poison she used to kill Kaori. But at this moment, Michiru suddenly appeared and took her by surprise. Nana reasoned that she was on guard there in case the enemy of humanity came to attack, but Michiru told Nana to rest while she replaced her on guard. Nana agrees because she does need a break. But then, as Nana closed her eyes, Michiru suddenly pointed a knife at her neck, claiming that from the start, she knew Nana was the killer. She knows that Nana can't actually read minds. But unfortunately, Nana managed to get rid of the knife from Michiru's grip while injuring her hand. At almost the same time, two other students came out of the dormitory and told Michiru to return immediately. And Michiru did as they asked without telling them about Nana. The following day, Nana takes Michiru to the cliff to sort out what happened last night. But as soon as she saw the wound on Michiru's hand, she immediately knew that Michiru, who met her last night, and Michiru, who was with her now, was not the real one. If she was the real Michiru, she would definitely heal the wound on her hand. So, Nana guessed that the person in front of her now could transform. Sure enough, a moment later, the figure transformed into a man named Tachibana Jin, a former student on the island. Jin then takes Nana to her hiding cave, where he later reveals that he knows all the murders she committed. It was because he had disguised himself as a cat all this time, the same cat that Kiyoya had taken care of. He then revealed that 5 years ago, the talented on the island killed each other to determine which of them was the strongest, and thanks to his abilities, he became the only survivor of the incident. As for his purpose of showing his true form to Nana now, it was because he wanted to ask her to cooperate with him in investigating the central government, which he suspected had played a major role in causing the civil war incident 5 years ago. If Nana refuses, Jin will not hesitate to kill her. But a moment later, Jin suddenly felt pain after drinking his coffee, which Nana had secretly poisoned. But it turns out that Jin cannot only transform into a cat, he can transform into anyone and copy any talent. So when his life was threatened like this, he immediately changed his form into the immortal Kiyoya. As if realizing she had little hope when fighting such a monster, Nana chose to run away. But Jin didn't want to let her go just like that. He again transforms, this time into Maguo, and attacks her with his fire ability. But strangely, after hurting her so much, Jin brought Nana to the front of Michiru's room so she could take care of her. When Nana opened her eyes, Michiru was overjoyed. She said that she found Nana lying in front of her room last night, and since then, she couldn't stop worrying that Nana was attacked by the enemy of humanity. Seeing her innocence, Nana replies that she is not afraid of them. In fact, she hated them because they had killed her parents. But on the other hand, their deaths were caused by her carelessness. So long ago, when Nana was little, she used to sneak through the window after playing in her room. But one night, when she sneaked out to buy some fruit, she forgot to lock her bedroom window again, allowing intruders to easily enter her house and kill her parents. That's why until now, she still blames herself for their deaths. After Nana finished telling her past, Kiyoya came asking Nana and Michiru to follow him to a student's room, which was already crowded with students when they arrived. It turned out that the owner of the room, Ryuji, had been killed viciously. But unlike the previous murders, this time, the killer was not Nana. Like a detective, Kyoya interrogates Mago, whose room is next door to Ryuji's, to find out his alibi when the murder happened last night. But apparently, Mago had been in his room all night, busy lecturing his 3 henchmen, and they all heard nothing from Ryuji's room. Kyoya then interrogated Mago's 3 henchmen and asked them to show him their talents. The first person interrogated turned out to only have a talent for changing his voice. The second person can make an astral projection, while the third person is a magnetic man. In addition to the 3 henchmen, there is Fuko, Ryuji's girlfriend, who was the first to find his corpse. And she was the most suspicious person, especially after Kyoya discovered that she had a talent for controlling elements. When Kyoya asked her to demonstrate her talent, she used the wind to attack Kyoya. And coincidentally, Ryuji was found dead in front of the wide-open window, allowing the wind to freely enter his room. But just as Kyoya was about to continue his investigation, their homeroom teacher came to tell them that the higher-ups who ran the school were on the phone. It turns out it was because Kyoya wanted to report the murders at school to them. So, Nana and Michiru were forced to continue the investigation without Kyoya, and they managed to find evidence that Ryuji opened his bedroom window not to let the wind in but because he wanted to run away after realizing he would be killed. A few moments later, when Nana was alone in her room, the homeroom teacher knocked on the door to deliver her new uniform. She did ask the teacher for a new uniform because her old uniform was torn by Jin's attack. But at this time, Nana remembered that her poison bottle was missing. She never took her poison out of her old uniform pocket, so most likely, Michiru had picked it up while taking care of her. But before Nana could go to Michiru's room to look for the poison, Kyoya came back to invite her to interrogate Fuko. The interrogation, however, did not yield any new information to them. Instead, Fuko bursts into tears, begging Nana to help her avenge Ryuji's death. After the futile interrogation, Nana finally goes to Michiru's room to look for the poison bottle. Incidentally, at this time, Michiru was not in her room, giving Nana the freedom to search the whole room. But instead of finding the poison, she accidentally finds Michiru's diary. In the diary, Michiru wrote about her experience since she first met Nana in class and how she had always considered her as her best and trusted friend at the academy. She didn't even want to see Nana sad, like when she told her about the death of her parents. Shortly after, Jin suddenly appeared behind Nana while showing her poison bottle. He was the one who had taken the bottle from her. Then, while returning the poison to her, he swears to her that he will find out who is responsible for turning Nana into a murderer. But he slightly blamed Nana for suspecting Michiru of stealing her poison bottle. Even Jin knows that Michiru is an innocent girl who always treats Nana well. It's outrageous if Nana suspects her. Before he left, Jin asked Nana to check Michiru's bathroom. He was worried because Michiru had been in there too long. Sure enough, when Nana opened the bathroom door, she found Michiru unconscious in the bathtub. After thinking, Nana decided to save Michiru. It took her 2 days to take care of Michiru before she finally woke up. And it turns out that she fainted because she had helped a cat. Before Nana comes to her room, Jin comes to Michiru with an injured cat, asking her to save the cat. Michiru ends up saving the cat, but because she uses too much of her powers, she faints while taking a bath. Meanwhile, Jin finds a dead rabbit with a cut to its neck, the same wound the cat Michiru rescued had received. The person who injured the rabbit was still around, and Jin was well aware of that. He then called the person and told him he knew he was Ryuji's killer. In fact, he didn't care who the killer's next target was after he had successfully killed Ryuji. He only asked him to stop hurting and killing innocent animals. The scene then switches to the central government office, where the committee orders Nana's mentor, Tsuruoka, to go to the island. But of course, he wasn't sent to save the talented. His mission was to speed up the process of eliminating the talented. Back on the island, Michiru seems to have recovered gradually. And because of this, Nana remembered that she had wasted a lot of time caring for Michiru. She had to return to work on killing the students, and she had already chosen her next target, which was Fuko. But when Nana was about to leave, Michiru tried to ask her to stay with her a little longer. Here, Nana starts to look upset. After all, she couldn't sympathize with Michiru. If her superiors found out that she took care of Michiru instead of killing her, they would definitely kill her. She certainly prefers Michiru to die over herself. But, before she kills her, Nana wants to know first why Michiru is so kind to her and even heals her wounds several times. Turns out the reason was that she had a friend who died of cancer. Since then, she has always regretted not being able to do anything to heal her best friend. Her ability can only heal external wounds, not deadly diseases like cancer. That's why she always tried to heal Nana. She doesn't want to lose any more friends and will do whatever it takes to heal her friends with her abilities. Michiru's story touched Nana, so she hesitated to kill her. Later, Michiru meets Nana in her room because something is bothering her about the death of her parents. The other day Nana told her that she sneaked out after she finished playing in her room, and it made Michiru wonder if her room was still as messy when Nana came back as when she left. Hearing Michiru's question, Nana remembered that her room was already tidy when she woke up the next day. That means her parents cleaned her room while she was asleep and locked her bedroom window. And that means they're dead because maybe a burglar broke into the house. Nana was shocked when she realized all that, and Michiru immediately hugged her while calming her down. She asks Nana not to feel responsible or keep blaming herself for the death of her parents. At this moment, Nana decided she wouldn't kill Michiru. In fact, she couldn't even kill her after all this. The next day, their relationship developed into that of a best friend. Nana and Michiru exchanged gifts and smiled happily at each other as they received them. But later that night, Jin came to Nana and informed her that Michiru might be targeted by the killer. A moment earlier, Jin had seen her walking towards the beach, and when he disguised himself as Mugu and asked her where she was going, she simply replied that someone had asked her to meet him. Worried, Nana rushed outside to look for Michiru. She hadn't run very far when her cell phone suddenly rang. It turned out to be from Tsuruoka, and he was angry that Nana was negligent in completing her mission. He demands that she immediately kill all the students on the island, including Michiru. Meanwhile, Michiru finally meets the killer, who immediately attacks and corners her. But just before the assassin unleashed a finishing blow, Nana arrived just in time to protect her. As a result, Nana was hit by the killer's attack. Nana already knew that the one who tried to kill Michiru now was the same person who killed Ryuji. He is none other than Maogo's henchman who has astral projection talent, Rentaro. With his spirit form, Rentaro continued to stab Nana, who was persistent in protecting Michiru. But Nana realized that she couldn't protect her forever, so she started insulting Michiru, hoping she would hate her and walk away. Her tactics worked well. Despite initially refusing to leave, Michiru runs away after Nana says she never considers her a friend. She was only using her stupidity to her advantage. Seeing Michiru leave, Rentaro intends to finish off Nana so he can catch up to Michiru. However, he suddenly groaned in pain while holding his neck, as if his neck was strangled. What actually happened to him? To know the answer, we must go back to some time ago, before Nana went to look for Michiru. Just then, Nana met Kiyoya and told him about the killer's identity, Rentaro. Therefore, while looking for Michiru, she asked Kiyoya to find Rentaro's real body and stop him. After some time of searching, Kiyoya finally found Rentaro's real body, hiding in the toilet cubicle. So he decided to strangle him to make his astral body return to its original body, thus saving Nana at the same time. But unfortunately, he was a little late because now Nana was seriously injured. She even realized that she was dying as the image of her late parents flashed through her mind. But at least she could leave the world with a smile because she had finally found a friend she never had. While Nana was lying on the ground with her last breath, Michiru unexpectedly returned and healed her wound. But it turns out that Nana's injuries are too severe, forcing Michiru to use all her energy just to heal her. In the end, Michiru managed to save Nana, even though it cost her her own life. And this series ends by showing Nana hugging Michiru, crying bitterly at the loss of the only friend she ever had. The moral that can be learned from this anime is that Among Us game turns out to have its own anime version. There is quite a lot of anime that has a similar concept. But what do you think? Is Talentless Nana the best anime with a concept similar to Among Us?